Maybe it was fate, destiny, or divine providence. I might even dare to say God, which brought me in contact with Sonic. I love this character and I love this specific design. Give me a few minutes of your time and I'll explain why. I grew up going to church, which left marks on me in more ways than one, but for now, let me focus on a particular event which occurred on a seemingly regular Sunday afternoon. My parents are very amicable people, and as such they were close friends with the pastor and his wife at the church we attended, who invited us over for lunch after church. Shortly after eating, I excused myself from the table, as a self-respecting 5-year-old would, and began exploring the home looking for anything of entertainment value. After minutes of sifting through a Where's Waldo book, I abandoned the office room I was in and found a small side room that contained a bookshelf next to their home computer. Rummaging through plastic CD-ROM cases, I came across a jewel case, and this was my first encounter with Sonic the Hedgehog. I took the CD case to my mom and asked her to ask the host, because I'm 5, if she would let me borrow this gem I had stumbled upon in their dusty computer game collection. The host, Sarah, was quick to explain her son, who was now in college, didn't need the game anymore and I could have it for myself. I was ecstatic. Rushing home, more like begging to leave, I quickly popped the silver disc with Sonic curled up on the cover into our Windows 95 desktop and booted up Sonic CD for the first time. I can't even recall how I felt looking at this intro for the first time, but looking at it now fills the 5-year-old in me with such awful glee and happiness that I like to imagine I knew I was playing one of the coolest games ever. Having played Mario at relatives' homes in the past, I thought this sharp-looking newcomer was way cooler than a mustachioed plump man in overalls. Unlike Mario, Sonic zipped around the landscape, flipped off of rocks, and scaled cliffs in the blink of an eye. He was so fast, so nimble, so serious, I was instantly attached to Sonic. I wanted to go on this adventure alongside him. My first real memory was seeing Palm Tree Panic's title glide across the screen, and for the first time being able to play as Sonic in his unnatural habitat. It was awkward to control him, unwieldy even, and I found the game to be quite difficult. The time travel mechanic was perplexing for me, and I used it to acquire previously hidden collectibles rather than save the future of Little Planet. Musically, CD was so moody and atmospheric that it actually made me scared as a kid. Eggman's boss music was anxiety-inducing. I later learned there was an entirely different soundtrack that would have been a lot less terrifying for a kid to play through, and years down the road I would overcome my fears and finally defeat Eggman and save Little Planet. Sonic media was sparse where I grew up. There wasn't a whole lot of merchandise and we didn't have cable, so most of my Sonic media findings were the computer game shelf at a local Office Depot, or surprisingly, finding VHS rentals at Blockbuster. I rented multiple Sonic Underground Combo VHS movies and Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog episodes. As a kid, I knew this Sonic looked different, but the more Sonic the merrier I was. Chili dogs became a regular lunchtime meal for me. Eventually, I found the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, better known as the Sonic OVA, in a hole-in-the-wall pop culture shop in an Austin, Texas mall. I was gleeful at the prospect of more animated Sonic in the house alongside my flimsy DVD copies of Sonic Underground and Saturn, next to my overused kept Blockbuster VHS of Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Needless to say about this next Sonic movie, I was not disappointed. Finally, an energetic, snarky but serious Sonic was back. Tails was surfing on a hoverboard and Knuckles was a sheriff, I thought? And Metal Sonic was in it? This was way past cool. I showed all my buddies this movie, hosting overnight parties to watch the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. In fact, most childhood memories surrounding Sonic were communal. We regularly spoke about new ring locations or helped each other through the game. We came up with our own characters, our own worlds, our own games even. It consumed our conversations and our time. As I grew older, I abandoned my attachment to Sonic to pursue more current, stylistic art inspired by the work of Jonan Vasquez and Jamie Hewlett in middle school. Later in high school, I fell in love with fantasy and wanted that to be my main focus. Post-high school, I dove deeper into the fantasy well and decided I wanted to paint for Wizards of the Coast. After realizing this endeavor is a huge undertaking and feeling unsettled by the prospect of ultimately being locked into semi-realism, I went back to the drawing table and began asking myself what it is I truly want to be as an artist. I started thinking about video games again, the games I love to play, and so began thinking of Sonic again. I asked myself, what was it that made me like Sonic to begin with? Last year, I started watching the original Dragon Ball, produced by Toei Animation. Toei Animation, along with Studio Junio, are responsible for the animated Sonic CD intro and outro, thus creating the appropriately nicknamed Toei Sonic. If we take a look at how Toei visually represents Goku in the anime, based on Toriyama's art, we can begin to see striking similarities between the Sonic they ended up with and Goku's early design. There is an explanation. A lead animator at Studio Junio by the name of Hisashi Iguchi, who worked on Dragon Ball, was the one who penned the character reference sheets for the Sonic scene in the final animations. The shape language, which is a term used by visual development artists describing reoccurring shapes or line to create cohesive designs between Sonic and Goku, truly speak to one another. Goku's hair is basically Sonic's spikes, his eyes are Sonic's eyes, they share similar posing and theatrics. These are artists who knew how to draw underdog heroes. Sonic's original design by Naoto Oshima shows a rotund but vibrant anthropomorphic forest creature who clearly had an attitude from the beginning. Simply due to the time in which Sonic was conceived in the early 90s, he was the family-friendly, edgy counterbalance to Mario's soft, plushy, flamboyant persona. Like all iconic characters, including those he was inspired from, Sonic's basic forms are a masterclass in simple character design, utilizing fundamental shapes like circles and triangles to form a strong silhouette that is identifiable immediately and speaks to the personality traits of the character. Friendly curvature with the potential to poke your eye out. Whenever any artist gives life to a blank page, they are drawing upon their years of experience and funneling the sum of who they are up to that moment into that next drawing. Imagine a man who partook in some of the most legendary anime. Just to list a few: Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, 4 Dragon Ball movies, Ghost in the Shell, 3 Lupin specials, 4 Naruto specials, Paprika, and Neon Genesis Evangelion. Imagine this man was given the task of interpreting an anthropomorphic hedgehog. That man is Hisashi Iguchi. He took the sum of who he was as an artist, grabbed Oshima's design, and sent it through an artistic portal of genre-defining anime that transformed it into one of expressive line work, dynamic shapes that speak of pent-up energy, sharp angles which shout angst, contrasted by curvy, friendlier lines, a design of legendary proportions. One that capitalizes on the nature of Sonic as a graceful, don't hold back, protects loved ones at all costs, hyperactive teen. It is Sonic's ethos visualized. Part nostalgia, part appropriate visual translation and solid design, 100% love for the character, Toei Sonic is the true Sonic for me. He is inextricably linked to my first experience with Sonic, the first Sonic I saw, the first Sonic I spent time with. He's focused, determined, heroic, acrobatic, ready for the occasion, ready for any obstacle. There is no circumstance he can't handle. This is why I love Toei Sonic.